Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakat Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Greetings and salutations to you brothers on the highways and hedges, doing this work in all sincerity. Shalom to you, Aqua, for an order, as well as you Israelites who look like these other nations. And shalom to all you sincere listeners. Shalom. Okay, I think I will title this, The Lord is Intensifying His Work Against Babylon. All right? And this is... the site that I'm going to play is Financial Revelations 1. Not using it for monetary gain. I like to invoke the Fair Use Act of 1978. Fair use, fair use. This will be used for educational purposes only. Okay? So, you know, in old warfare, countries used to lay siege. You know, well, if a castle had defenses or a city had high walls and defenses, you would lay siege to it. And in effect, you would stop food, largely food and water from getting into the city gates, and you would put the people under serious hardship. Okay, the modern day siege tactics are depleting a country's commerce. Okay, the depleting their monetary value. Okay, and this is what you're looking at today. It's they've been speaking about it for a long time, but now they are actually implementing it. Okay, with the goal to collapse the dollar. I'm talking about the BRICS nations, you know, and spiritually, biblically, Russia will lead the charge in this. Okay, so you have got to a point where they are reducing, you know, their endeavor is to reduce Babylon the Great through, you know, so this is the beginning of warfare, actually, if you didn't know. Okay, you don't need to fire weapons in order for, you know, for war to commence. Okay, so there's many different battlefronts in our time. Okay, you've got that cyber war, you've got that financial war, you know, and this is BRICS looking to destabilize the economy and crash the dollar of America. Okay, because that, in effect, that is what's happening, because once they do that, it restricts their ability to feed their war machine. Okay, this is a strategy, and in turn puts their citizens as well as their country at large in heavy straits. Okay, so I'll just play the video and then we'll get into a discussion. Well, I'll talk on it and bring out some scriptures. Okay, so here we go.
Disclaimer. December 2025. While Americans wrap Christmas presents, a financial war that's been brewing for years is reaching its critical phase. According to the latest U.S. Treasury reports, China and Russia have executed the largest coordinated exit from dollar assets in modern history. China's Treasury holdings down over $520 billion since 2013. Russia's holdings, 98% liquidated. Together, over $600 billion withdrawn from U.S. bonds. And where did that money go? Gold, over 1,000 tons of it, This isn't portfolio diversification. This is strategic preparation. And if you don't understand what they're preparing for, the next 10 minutes will change everything you think you know about money.
Just to highlight that Gaddafi wanted to do this with a united Africa, where they would use the actual tangible assets, okay, as currency, which would, because bear in mind, Babylon the Great has got, the dollar has become the world currency, all right? So it's recognized all over the world, but its value has depleted, all right, because of greed and crafty stratagems that they have implemented around the world. This, the dollar does not look as, it doesn't look as attractive as it once did, okay? So you have a fiat currency, which is essentially figures on a computer screen. And this is, by and large, the leaders of these nations did not have any alternative to it. So they had to either like it or lump it, and then you have to always remember that military might that Babylon the Great and NATO had around the world was also a deterrent for them to stop doing business with these Western powers, okay? Now you have an alternative, okay? And that's because the Heavenly Father has raised up Russia. All right? So you've got that great bear that has woken up, and there's a coalition within the earth, okay? And all of these countries are emerging powerhouses, economic powerhouses when it comes to finances, okay? And all of them have got assets that are tangible, that are worth something within the earth, okay? Not to mention the 6 countries that are in the BRICS. Salakia. The 6 countries that are in the BRICS, which are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. I count 5 there. Brazil, Russia, India, China, 5 nations. Yeah, so you have also interest from around the globe, okay? Be it Iran, be it Saudi Arabia, be it now Turkey. All these people are coming, all these countries and nations are looking and seeing the validity of what they are proposing, okay? So listen to this guy. He'll tell you about this new gold reserve that they are building up.
Let me show you something that should be front page news, but isn't. The U.S. Treasury Department publishes a monthly report called TIC Data, Treasury International Capital. It tracks every foreign government's holdings of U.S. bonds. It's public information. You can download it yourself. And buried in those spreadsheets is a trend that reveals everything. According to the latest available data, China holds approximately $775 billion in U.S. Treasury securities. Now, that sounds like a lot until you realize that in 2013 they held $1.3 trillion. That's a $520 billion reduction over 12 years. But here's the key. The decline is accelerating. In just the past 3 years, China has dumped over $280 billion. Russia's trajectory is even more extreme. In early 2018, before the major sanctions wave, Russia held $96 billion in U.S. treasuries. As of the most recent reports, less than $2 billion remains. That's not a reduction, that's a complete exit. They liquidated 98% of their position. Now, if this were just China or just Russia, you could chalk it up to politics, trade wars, sanctions, diplomatic tensions. But when the world's second largest economy and the world's largest energy exporter both do the exact same thing at the exact same time, that's not coincidence, that's coordination. And here's the proof that this is strategic. While they were selling treasuries, they were buying gold. Russia added over 400 tons to its official reserves between 2018 and 2024. China officially reported adding 225 tons. But every precious metals analyst knows China's real reserves are far higher, likely over 3,000 tons when you include state-owned enterprises and private holdings that don't appear on the central bank's balance sheet. So let's be clear about what we're looking at. Over $600 billion withdrawn from dollar-denominated assets, converted into the one asset that's nobody's liability. That's not diversification. That's an exit strategy being executed in real time. But why now? Why gold?
So we have £1 million worth of gold here, and we have £25,000 worth of silver here. Which one do you think?
Gold? And why should you care? Because the United States has entered what economists call a debt-death spiral, and China and Russia know it. Right now, as of December 2025, our national debt stands at over $36 trillion. That number grows by about $1 trillion every 100 days. But here's the part that should terrify you. The interest payment on that debt has now exceeded $1 trillion per year. Let me put that in perspective. It's more than Medicare. It's more than we spend on veterans, education, and infrastructure combined. And here's the trap. The mathematical prison our government now finds itself in. The Federal Reserve cannot raise interest rates without making this problem exponentially worse. Every single percentage point increase in interest rates adds approximately $360 billion to the annual interest bill, but they also cannot lower rates significantly without reigniting inflation, which is already running above their 2% target. They're paralyzed, stuck between two catastrophic options: bankrupt the government with high rates or destroy our currency with high inflation. China and Russia looked at this equation years ago and drew the obvious conclusion. The dollar cannot survive this intact. The only question is timing. And so they began their exit. Now, here's why this matters to you right now. When the two largest geopolitical rivals of the United States coordinate a systematic withdrawal from our currency and stockpile the one asset that thrives during monetary collapse, three things happen. First, it creates a liquidity problem. The U.S. Treasury needs to refinance approximately $2 trillion in debt every single year, just to roll over existing obligations, not counting new spending. If major foreign buyers disappear, who fills that gap? Domestic buyers can only absorb so much. Second, it validates alternatives. When China and Russia publicly dump dollars for gold, every other central bank on earth is watching. According to the World Gold Council, central banks purchased over 1,000 tons of gold in 2024 alone, the highest annual total since the 1950s. They're following the leaders. Third, it lays the foundation for a replacement system. Because China didn't just buy gold and walk away. They built the Shanghai Gold Exchange.
Yeah, you see that's pretty. It says it leaves a foundation for a replacement system. Okay, that right there is crucial, because for many years there was no replacement to the Federal Reserve, to the World Bank, to the dollar being the dominant currency within the earth, okay? Now we are seeing that the Heavenly Father is bringing down Babylon the Great in every which way that you can imagine, all right?
Now, the largest physical gold trading hub in the world. They launched the Petroleum system for oil trading. They created CEPS, the cross-border interbank payment system, as an alternative to SWIFT. Russia did the same with SPFS. These aren't contingency plans. These are operational systems processing real transactions right now. The dollar's dominance was never guaranteed by economics alone. It was maintained by momentum and lack of alternatives. But momentum is reversing, and alternatives now exist. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds too coordinated, too planned, like conspiracy theory territory. So let me show you the receipts. You just have to know where to look, and that's exactly what we're doing next. Let's start with the source document nobody reads, but everyone should. The U.S. Treasury International Capital Report, TIC data, published monthly by the Department of the Treasury. Dry, bureaucratic, and absolutely devastating when you know how to read it. According to the latest available Treasury data, China currently holds approximately $775 billion in U.S. Treasury securities. That's down from a peak of $316 trillion in November 2013. Now that's a $541 billion reduction, But the headline number only tells part of the story. If you track the monthly flows, the actual buying and selling patterns, you see something remarkable. China is not gradually reducing their position. They're liquidating in concentrated windows, right before Federal Reserve meetings, right before debt ceiling votes, right before major geopolitical flashpoints. The timing isn't random. Russia's pattern is even more stark. In April 2018,
if this is not strategical warfare, to the lesser degree, but strategical warfare nevertheless, it is a financial war, and all these things serve a purpose of reducing a strong nation, so that you can have the ability to strike it, okay? So that you can sustain a war against it. That's why these nations are banding together, okay? You heard what the guy said, lack of alternatives. This is the decline of an empire. And remember, this is all happening because the Heavenly Father has put it in motion, okay? Babylon the Great will become a desolation, because when you take out the finances out of a land, what follows? Famines, hardships, okay? All of that. Other nations stop doing business with you. America is reliant on resupply, okay? They are not the producing nation that they once were. So when it comes to food, they're reliant on that. Back to what brothers always used to say, a supermarket only has 3 days worth of food in it. Once these debts are not being paid, you must remember the world is watching now. So, people will be reluctant to do business. And it is a systematic destabilization. It is a tactical strike. It's a soft strike. Soft. But with devastating impact. To reduce Babylon the Great. This is Isaiah chapter 47 and 1. And it says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate." This is a reduction in status, okay? Sit on the ground in the dust. The Most High is reducing Babylon the Great and reducing the house of Esau. All right? That's why they are clutching everywhere. Venezuela, let's secure that. Syria, let's secure that. Because they are losing, especially with the formation of these BRICS. Now everybody is looking at this as an alternative. When you look at the countries with the greatest mineral resources, we're talking about countries in Africa that have been shortchanged for years. They're looking for alternatives. Okay? Because Ezekiel 38, it tells you that, they're going to have all these nations that are going to align themselves. All right? Cyril Ramaphosa, even though he's compromised by the elites, but he started doing something he's never done before. He started to talk openly about... he started to say openly about America, and he started to speak about it and speak on the discrepancies within their trade. as well as, Ibrahim Traore, Burkina Faso, just to name a few. And you have other leaders within Africa that their countries are rich in assets, and they are starting to align themselves with the BRICS. And Russia has an absolute huge presence in these places. Okay? So with these tangible assets, they can feed this war machine. While China and Russia, as well as I'm sure some others, are reducing America's capability through this cleverly crafted financial war. Okay, not to mention the cyber wars. There's a lot of behind the scenes cloak and dagger stuff that is going on. All to the fall of Babylon the Great. Isaiah 47:2, take the millstone and grind meal and cover thy locks, make bare the leg and cover the thigh, pass over the rivers. They will not have the modesty which they enjoy today. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. Yeah. And that's talking about Yahweh Shai, because this decline is not going to stop. All right? From this point, to the ultimately the thermonuclear destruction, and then after that, Yahweh Shai HaMashiach will come and put the final touches and seal their doom right there. Yeah. I'm going to jump down to verse 7, and it says, and thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever. So this is Isaiah 47:7. So that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Okay? And we have entered the latter end of the world as we know it. Okay? Because we are going into the subtraction of Babylon the Great. Okay? And the bringing down of its elite force, those that claim to run the earth. The Most High has a bone to pick with them and is using these nations to destabilize them and ultimately take them out. And as it gets worse and worse for Babylon the Great, even its allies in Europe will turn their back and join the effort with these others that have risen. Okay? Yeah. And continuing on, Isaiah 47:7, and thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, because even the pleasures and convenience, you need money. And sayest in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. All these things they say. All these things they say, they will not, the pride, you understand, the pride is something that they cannot shake. greatest land in the world, home of the land of the free, home of the brave. Nothing can happen to us. But really, ultimately, slavery will happen to the Edomites of Babylon the Great. Destruction will happen. Complete destruction. And so on and so forth. All the things that happen to a falling nation, to a nation that gets taken out by the Heavenly Father. All right? These things will happen. Servitude, desolation, anguish, terror. Because even now, these things, they would have hid. They would have hid. But because of social media, the Most High has revealed all these things, okay? So that we can bring it out and we can declare it through the scriptures. Yeah. Bear with me a second. This is... Yeah. Zephaniah chapter 2 and 15, and it says, "This is the rejoicing city that dwelt carelessly, that said in her heart, I am, and there is none besides me. How is she become a desolation, a place for beasts to lie down in? Everyone that passeth by her shall hiss and wag his hand." Yeah. So you see that this is not going to stop until complete desolation takes that land. All right? Why? Because the land is polluted, because it's defiled. And we can go into that. There's a judgment for all of this. There's and this is the book of Psalms 107 and verse 33. "He turneth rivers into a wilderness, and the water springs into dry ground, a fruitful land into barrenness, for the wickedness of them that dwell therein." All right, so it's not for nothing that the Most High has started this work within Babylon the Great, because of the wickedness that have been done by the Edomites. And the house of Jacob has followed suit into the wickedness that has been perpetuated there. All right? Let's see what I can find here. Yeah. And this is Revelation chapter 18 and verse 11. "And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore." You must remember, America is the greatest consuming nation on the earth. Like what I said before, they buy from everywhere. Okay? People have waxed rich. The merchants of the earth have waxed rich because they are selling to her. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, and of pearls and fine linen, and purple and silk. This is when she was a lady, and scarlet, and all thine wood, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of most precious wood, and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors, okay? All the goods from around the world find their way there, okay? And ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour, man, and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men, okay? So every type of trade you can think of is sanctioned and goes on in Babylon the Great. Yeah. Yeah, so we're seeing it being brought down before our eyes. We've already seen the beginnings of it. Even if you look at the people, you know, they're despondent now, those who don't know the truth. They're wondering what's happening. They're wondering, when is it going to get great again? But the greatness is fleeting. The Most High has taken the greatness away. And now we are watching the systematic unraveling of Babylon the Great.
Russia held $96.1 billion in treasuries. Then, between April and August of 2018, a 4-month window, they dumped 84% of their holdings. By 2020, they were under $10 billion. Today, less than $2 billion remains. That's a 98.1% liquidation. And here's what the mainstream financial press won't tell you. Russia's massive sell-off happened before the major sanctions hit. They saw what was coming and exited first. That's not panic selling. That's strategic repositioning. Now zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Total foreign holdings of U.S. debt. In 2015, foreign entities held 34% of all outstanding U.S. Treasury securities. According to the most recent data, that's now approximately 29.5%. That's a 4.5 percentage point drop, which translates to nearly $2 trillion in bonds that foreign buyers no longer want. So who's buying all this debt? U.S. domestic institutions, banks, pension funds, insurance companies are being forced to absorb more, and increasingly, the Federal Reserve itself. We're approaching a scenario where America is essentially lending money to itself, and historically, that's when currency crises begin.
It holds over $2 billion worth of clients' assets, the largest stock of privately held bullion in the world.
Bullion Vault gives private investors access to the professional markets, and we undertake to make your bullion purchase safer and cheaper and easier than anybody else.
Bullion Vault buys gold in the large bar format, which is the format 400-ounce bars that the professional market deals in. And
that's when currency crises begin. Now let's follow the money. Because when you sell $600 billion in treasuries, that money goes somewhere, and we know exactly where it went. The World Gold Council, the international industry organization that tracks official gold reserves, publishes quarterly reports on central bank activity. Their 2024 data shows that central banks purchased 1,045 tons of gold. The year before, 137 tons. These are the highest consecutive years of central bank gold buying since 1967. And it's not random central banks buying random amounts. It's a specific coalition executing a specific strategy. Russia's official gold reserves now stand at 2,330 tons, making them the 5th largest sovereign holder in the world. But here's the timeline that matters. In 2007, Russia held just 400 tons. They increased their reserves nearly 6-fold in less than 20 years. And the bulk of that accumulation happened after 2014, after Crimea, after sanctions began, after they started being threatened with removal from SWIFT. China officially reports 2,264 tons of gold reserves. But this is where you need to understand how central bank reporting works. Under IMF guidelines, countries are only required to report gold held directly by their central bank. Gold held by state-owned enterprises, sovereign wealth funds, or other government entities. That doesn't show up in the official number. China is the world's largest gold producer, mining approximately 370 tons per year domestically. And by law, none of that gold can be exported. It must be sold to Chinese institutions. Independent analysts who track import flows through Hong Kong and Shanghai, combined with production data, estimate China's real gold reserves at between 3,000 and 4,000 tons. That's nearly double what they officially report. And here's the smoking gun that proves this is strategic. In 2016, China launched the Shanghai Gold Exchange, the SGE. Within 5 years, it became the largest physical gold trading platform in the world, surpassing London and New York in volume. You don't build that infrastructure unless you're planning to use it. You don't create an alternative pricing mechanism unless you're preparing to challenge the existing system. But gold alone doesn't replace the dollar's role in global trade. You need payments infrastructure, exactly what's been built over the past 5 years. In January 2024, BRICS officially expanded. The original 5 members, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, added 5 new full members: Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Iran. Argentina was in.
Look at that. Look at that. Can you see the powerhouse of finance now that has come up against Babylon the Great? Okay? When you look at Europe, when you look at the allies that they have, supposedly have, these places are in economic crisis. They've got refugee crisis. The people are despondent here. They're not even patriotic anymore. Throughout Europe, they're scrambling. Nobody really wants to even join the military like that no more. So you've got a mechanized force coming against Babylon the Great, which is in disarray. Don't get me wrong, their military power is still massive. But you need finances to sustain any sort of conflict. So this is a strategic move. You heard what he said, among them, the 6 new members, among them was Saudi Arabia. Okay? And all the others, maybe except Ethiopia, are financial powerhouses.
The SGE. Within 5 years, it became the largest physical gold trading platform in the world, surpassing London and New York in volume. You don't build that infrastructure unless you're planning to use it. You don't create an alternative pricing mechanism unless you're preparing to challenge the existing system. But gold alone doesn't replace the dollar's role in global trade. You need payments infrastructure, exactly what's been built over the past 5 years. In January 2024, BRICS officially expanded. The original 5 members, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, added 5 new full members: Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Iran. Argentina was invited but declined under their new government. That brings the total to 10 nations. And the numbers behind this block are staggering. 42% of global oil production, 36% of global GDP measured by purchasing power parity, 3.2 billion people, 41% of the world's population, and over 30% of global land area. And at the BRICS summit in October 2024 in Kazan, Russia, all 10 members signed a joint declaration that included this line: we support the strengthening of correspondent banking networks within BRICS and enabling settlements in local currencies in line with BRICS Cross-Border Payments Initiative. That's diplomatic language for we're done using dollars. And the infrastructure to make this work is already operational. CIPS, China International Payment System. Launched in 2015, it processed over 17 trillion in transactions in 2024. That's up 50% from 2023. It now connects over 1,400 financial institutions in 100 plus countries. SPFS, Russia's system for transfer of financial messages. This is Russia's alternative to SWIFT. It currently connects 159 foreign banks across 20 countries. Volume has grown 60% year over year. Petroyuan, this is the big one.
Many of the nations that he spoke about were made rich through America. Okay? This is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1 and 7. It says, all the men of thy confederacy of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. The men that were in peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. Who is at peace? You know, Saudi Arabia and America were hand in glove. You know, China was one of their biggest suppliers of goods, and so on and so forth. But the Most High has turned their spirit against. And I'll tell you, when it talks about even the men that were at peace with thee, even when you know, as time goes on, the 10 horns will also be with those that are burning Babylon the Great with fire. She will have not a friend left. And you can see it. You can see that is what's happening. More and more, these nations are jumping off the sinking ship. Obadiah 1 and 7, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Yeah, basically what is happening. You know, they're scrambling what is going on. But they don't take stock to see that they, you know, they have smited the nations with a continual stroke. You know, and I wonder if they consider themselves that they are collecting a judgment. You know? I wonder if they know that they have fallen afoul of the Heavenly Father. You know, because it says there is no understanding in him. So they will probably carry on with great pride. And regardless of what is happening before their eyes. This is where we are, you know. The Most High has stirred up the Medes, and they care not for Babylon's silver, nor their gold. They just want to get busy. Yeah. And bear with me a second. You know, and for the elect, because what is coming? Famines, a great depression like never seen before. You know, but stay with the Heavenly Father. This is Job chapter 5 and 20. It says, in famine he shall redeem thee from death, and in war from the power of the sword. Okay? So the Heavenly Father will have his men in that day and will redeem them in that day. Yeah. Remember, these people that have been raised up now are not looking to take handouts from Babylon the Great. They're not looking for anything. They are looking to destabilize and collapse the dollar. Okay? And ultimately, they are looking They're looking to bring America down because they have the feeling that they are going to have next. You know, they also want to enjoy being the leading nation upon the earth. Yeah. But that is not going to happen. You know, we know that that is not going to happen because that's not on the script. That's not on the script. You know, and the Most High is going to make good his promise to the house of Israel after the collapse of Babylon the Great. He is just using these nations to do it. Yeah? Remember, this is not going to stop. It's going to continue until thermonuclear destruction hits. Just to go into that briefly, we're going to go into we'll go into, because remember, there's a new world, a new you know what that they want to implement. They want to implement subdermal devices on the people for perpetual servitude. It's not for nothing that the Heavenly Father is bringing them down. Not to mention for his violence against his brother Jacob. All right? The Most High, they are not in the Most High's good books. You understand? Jacob have he loved, and Esau has he hated. And these nations have been risen up to take him down. Economically, militarily, all types of Lee you can think are waiting to take him down. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3 and verse 9, and it says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war." What you're seeing, the collapse of the dollar is a preparation of war, okay? Solidifying their assets in gold and tangible, and it's a preparation for war, okay? Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. You know, you hear that? Let all the men of war draw near. And if you look at it, they are drawing near. They are drawing near. They are marking out battle lines at the moment, okay? At the moment, they are doing it through finance. They are doing it through finance. Cleverly setting out their battle plan. Yeah, because, you know, it has a time. Babylon the Great had a shelf life. It had a time where it could reign and do its thing. Now the collapse is imminent. There's nothing that anybody can do about that because the Heavenly Father's hand is against it, you know? So nobody can redeem Babylon. Nobody can take it out of its current state, you know, because what is happening is that it is just. Joel chapter 3 and 9 verse 10, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. You see how many members this BRICS nations have got? How many are jumping on now? Want to be part of this great effort to push and destabilize Babylon the Great. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Everybody is thinking militarily now. Strategic. Let the weak say, I am strong. Let the weak say, I am strong. There's nothing good. There's nothing good coming for Babylon the Great. Yeah. This is Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 17. It says, Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. And the Medes are the Russians, okay? They are the Medes, what it is referring to. Who it's referring to here is Russia. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. So Babylon the Great will not be able to bribe none of these people coming up against it. Why? Because they will have moved finances and they will have their own. You can't come to them and promise them some fiat currency, okay? Or something you can't see or touch. There's nothing they have that can bribe Russia or China or any of those BRICS nations. They have a different agenda in mind. Yeah, Isaiah 13 and 17. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows shall dash the young men to pieces. This is talking about war. The bows are those are what will fire those arrows. Okay, those hypersonics. Their bows shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eye shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency. Yeah, because when it was great, it was great. That's why they want it back. That's why there's sayings like, make America great again. Because that greatness has left. The Most High has taken it away. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. How did he overthrow Sodom and Gomorrah? With fire. Burnt it off the face of the earth. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there. No more Ishmaelis coming to do their thing. Neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. A completely inhabited wasteland. And the wild beasts of the island shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant places. And her time is near to come, and her days, listen, her time is near to come. This is the Spirit upon the men of the Lord to tell you these things. And now when we watch it, we see that we filter it through the scriptures, and we see that, yes, her time is most certainly near to come. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. And her days shall not be prolonged. Yeah, so I'll play a little more of the video. I probably won't finish it. I think you get the gist of what it's saying, but I'll play a little more for added context.
Saudi Arabia began accepting Chinese yuan for oil payments in 2022. As of the latest reports, approximately 20% of China's oil imports are now.
So you see, Saudis are now accepting Chinese yuan. Now, if they build this currency backed by gold, which is this BRICS currency, how quick will the rest of the world look to want to do business with an actual strong currency backed by tangible assets? In a heartbeat. Remember the time where the petrodollar was the only form of currency that was allowed on the world stage in order to do business. But now, you're having alternatives. You're having alternative powers that are rising. In Joel, it says, let the weak say, I am strong. We are seeing a bolstering of these nations and a newfound strength that has been given by the Heavenly Father.
Now settled in yuan, up from less than 2% in 2020. And Saudi Arabia joining BRICS Plus in 2024 signals that percentage is about to expand dramatically. This isn't theoretical. This isn't coming. Expand dramatically. This isn't theoretical. This isn't coming. This is already happening. The alternative system is running parallel to the dollar system right now, processing trillions in transactions. And every month, more volume shifts over. So let's recap what we've established with official data. China and Russia have withdrawn over $600 billion from treasuries. They've accumulated over 1,000 tons of gold. They've built parallel payment systems that don't need dollars. And they've recruited half the world's oil producers into a new economic bloc. Now here's the question nobody in Washington wants to answer. What happens when they flip the switch? What happens when this alternative system goes from parallel to primary? That's what we're calculating next. Let's talk about the math that doesn't care about politics, doesn't care about intentions, and doesn't negotiate. The Congressional Budget Office, the nonpartisan federal agency that projects government finances, released their long-term budget outlook in 2024. And buried in the technical appendices is a projection that should be on the front page of every newspaper in America. By 2034, just 9 years from now, the CBO projects U.S. national debt will reach $54 trillion, or the annual interest payment on that debt, $1.7 trillion. And here's the critical assumption buried in that projection. It assumes interest rates will average 3.6% over that period. But right now, in December 2025, the 10-year Treasury rate is sitting at approximately 4.5%. It has been above 4% for extended periods throughout 2024 and 2025. So what happens if rates don't drop to 3.6%? What if they stay at current levels or go higher? Let's do the math. $54 trillion in debt at 4.5% average interest rates equals $2.43 trillion in annual interest payments. That's more than Social Security. That's more than Medicare. That's more than defense, Veterans Affairs, and all domestic discretionary spending combined. At that point, the United States government faces only two options. Keep rates elevated, maintain some semblance of price stability, and watch the federal budget implode as interest payments consume everything. This leads to sovereign default, not officially declared, but functionally real, as the government can't meet its obligations, or order the Federal Reserve to suppress rates through massive bond.
And the government not being able to meet its obligations, you're seeing signs of that now, okay? You're seeing the beginnings of that now. And when you look at it, when you have a currency that has been destabilized You know, people laugh when you talk about Zimbabwe and how the economy collapsed there. You know, like in Sri Lanka, the economy collapsed there. And people laugh when you equate Babylon the Great to the same fate. But it is going to happen. You know what happens when countries are reluctant to do business with you anymore? You can't resupply your supermarkets and your storehouses, your warehouses. What happens then? The goods dry up. You know, right now they think they're in good case because they can get Amazon, they can get DoorDash, Uber Eats, you name it. Fast food chains are open all over the place. You can still have copious amounts of food and other goods. You can still maintain that American carefree lifestyle. What happens when, because this is 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and 22. It says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. So all the fields, things like that. You must remember the Most High controls everything. He can hit them with drought. You know? Maybe they can't afford the seed or the fertilizer, whatever the case. But it says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Walmart, Target, Costco, and other such like. No resupply. Financial crisis brings famines, desolation, devastation. She cannot Babylon the Great cannot continue like that. You know? Just going through. I'll probably bring 2 more scriptures out. And then, then call it a night there. Yeah, and this is Ezekiel chapter 14 and 12, and it says, the word of Yahweh came again to me, saying, Son of man, when the land sinneth against me by trespassing grievously. Yeah, and Babylon the Great has trespassed grievously against the Heavenly Father. Their abominations too numerous to mention. Under the hand of Esau Edom, it has transgressed to a point of no return. Okay? Son of man, when the land sinneth against me by trespassing grievously, then will I stretch out mine hand upon it, and will break the staff of the bread thereof, and will send famine upon it, and will cut off man and beast from it. Like I said before, there is no turning back. the indignation of the Heavenly Father against Babylon the Great and against Esau, Edom. Okay? Yeah, so I'll leave it there. Hope you found the lesson edifying. And shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom.